The virgin bride was left in the rain. A little girl with freckles said, "You came from heaven? Can you be my mother and marry my father?" A bride's wedding day takes a shocking turn when a letter reveals a scandalous secret, leaving the young woman abandoned and heartbroken in the pouring rain. A chance encounter with a child leads to unexpected refuge and a confrontation with the past. Now let's dive into the story. The sun beats down on a small frontier town, the kind where the streets are little more than dirt and mud, and the church sits at its center like a beacon of order in the wild. Horses are tied to posts, wagons creak, and townsfolk, dressed in their best, file into the wooden chapel. The faint sound of a fiddler warming his strings echoes in the distance. Inside the church, white flowers and ribbons decorate the pews. At the front, the preacher straightens his spectacles, waiting. The groom, Thomas Avery, tall and clean-shaven, stands stiffly, his wealthy family sitting proudly in the front row. Whispers stir when the church doors swing open. Entrance of the bride. Clara Mayfield appears. Just 18, she wears a plain but carefully stitched white gown, a veil covering her trembling face. She walks slowly down the aisle, clutching a simple bouquet of wildflowers. Her cheeks flush with nerves, but in her heart there's hope. Today she believes her life begins anew. Guests smile, though some whisper, "She's from nothing, you know. Her father died in disgrace, debts unpaid. Still, lucky girl marrying into the Averys." Clara tries not to hear. Her eyes fix on Thomas, who avoids her gaze. The interruption. Just as the preacher clears his throat, clatter. A rider gallops up outside. The church doors fly open with a crash of wood and wind. The rider, soaked with sweat and dust, thrusts a sealed letter into Thomas's hand. Thomas tears it open. His eyes scan the words, his jaw tightening with every line. Color drains from his face. Clara whispers softly, "Thomas, what is it?" He doesn't answer. The guests murmur, craning their necks. His mother, Mrs. Avery, leans forward, her eyes narrowing sharply. The betrayal. Thomas suddenly crumples the letter and shoves it into his coat. His voice shakes with fury and shame. This cannot be. I will not go through with this." Gasps ripple through the church. Clara's hands tremble. "Thomas? Please, what do you mean?" He turns, face pale, eyes burning with something between rage and humiliation. "It's over. I will not marry you, Clara Mayfield. Not now, not ever." The preacher stammers. "Son, wait, you can't just." But Thomas storms down the aisle, pushing past shocked guests. Mrs. Avery rises, lips thin as a blade. The letter's secret. Clara runs after him, clutching her skirts. "Thomas, what's in the letter? Tell me." But he mounts his horse and gallops away without another word. Clara stands frozen in the doorway, rain beginning to spatter from the sky. She turns desperately to Mrs. Avery. "Please, tell me what this is about. Why did he leave me?" Mrs. Avery's voice drips with venom as she thrusts the crumpled letter into Clara's hand. "Read it yourself, girl. Your family's shame has caught up with you. Did you think you could drag us into your filth?" Clara unfolds the wet paper with shaking fingers. The words blur in the rain. Mayfield's daughter unworthy, father died indebted, whispers of dishonor, a family not fit for union. Her lips tremble. This is a lie." Mrs. Avery sneers. "Lie or not, it's enough. You are nothing but a burden. My son deserves better than a ruined bride." The storm. The heavens open. Rain pours down in torrents, drumming on the church roof. Guests scatter, shielding themselves with shawls and hats, muttering about curses and disgrace. Clara staggers outside into the downpour. Her veil clings to her face, her bouquet drops into the mud, and her tears mingle with the storm. Alone, abandoned, her dreams dissolve as quickly as the paper in her hand. She whispers brokenly to herself, barely audible over the rain. "What did I do to deserve this?" Thunder cracks. A young bride left standing in the storm, her white gown heavy with rain, her future stolen before it began. The storm grows heavier, soaking the frontier town in sheets of rain. The dusty streets turn to mud, wagon wheels sink, and the few townsfolk who linger hurry to their homes. The church bell, still ringing from the abandoned wedding, clangs hollow and mocking. Clara stumbles through the doorway of the church into the storm, her ruined gown dragging in the muck. Her hands cling to the crumpled, soaked letter, the words smearing into nonsense. The town's cruel whispers. As she wanders, voices follow her. A group of women in bonnets huddle under a porch, whispering. "Poor thing, left like that." Not poor. Foolish. Should have known her place. Her father left debts all over town, Shame runs in the blood. Clara's breath hitches, her chest tight. She clutches the veil to her face, but their words stab deeper than the rain. A pair of boys jeer from the edge of the boardwalk. Bride in the mud. Bride in the mud. Clara stumbles faster, tears lost in the downpour. No place to run. She reaches the edge of town where the little shack she once called home leans against the prairie wind. She stops. Through the rain she sees the sagging roof, the broken shutters. Her father's ghost seems to linger there, whispering of debts unpaid, promises broken. She shakes her head. No. I can't go back. Not there. Not ever. Her feet carry her beyond the last lanterns of town, into the open prairie road. Each step is heavy. The mud pulls at her shoes. The hem of her gown tears on thistles and stones. She murmurs, voice raw. God above, if you see me, why have you forsaken me? Lightning splits the sky. Thunder rolls across the endless land. Despair on the road. Hours seem to pass. Clara collapses beside a lonely fence post, the rain still pouring. Her bouquet lies forgotten in the mud miles behind. She shivers violently, wrapping her soaked arms around herself. Her lips tremble in prayer. Please. Someone, anyone. Her head falls against the wood. Her veil, tattered and torn, slips into the dirt. She begins to sob, hopeless and exhausted. The prairie stretches wide and empty. She believes she is utterly alone. The unexpected voice. Then soft footsteps in the mud. A small, trembling voice breaks through the storm. Miss, are you all right? Clara lifts her head, blinking through rain. Standing before her is a little girl, maybe 7, with fiery red hair, freckles scattered across her nose, and big brown eyes filled with wonder. She clutches a ragged cloth doll to her chest. Clara stares in shock. What are you doing out here, child? The girl tilts her head, studying Clara's white gown, torn and heavy with rain. Her lips part in awe. You came from heaven, didn't you? Clara gasps softly. What? The little girl steps closer, barefoot in the mud, her freckles glowing against her pale, rain-slick skin. You look just like an angel. Did you fall from the sky? Clara's broken heart aches. The innocence in the girl's eyes pierces her despair. The question that changes everything. The little girl clutches Clara's skirt with small, desperate fingers. Please, can you be my mama? My papa doesn't have one for me anymore. Could you marry him? Clara freezes. The storm seems to hush around them, her breath catching in her throat. She whispers, voice trembling. Oh, sweet child. The girl looks up at her with pleading eyes, her freckles shining like stars in the rain. Please? Don't cry. Papa's strong. He'll keep you safe. You can be my mama now. Clara stares down at the child, stunned, her heart torn between grief and the faintest flicker of hope. The rain softens from a heavy downpour to a steady drizzle. The prairie glistens silver under the last of the storm clouds. Clara kneels in the mud, her ruined white gown clinging to her like a shroud. The little girl still clings to her skirt, freckles standing out against her damp skin, doll hugged tightly in one arm. The child's innocence. Clara brushes wet strands of hair from her face and whispers. My dear, you shouldn't be out here. Where is your family? The child smiles shyly, rain dripping from her lashes. I don't got a mama anymore. She went to heaven when I was little. Clara's heart twists. She lays a trembling hand on the girl's cheek. Oh, you poor darling. The girl's small fingers tighten on Clara's gown. Then you came down, didn't you? From heaven? I prayed for a mama, and you came in a white dress just like angels wear. Clara bites her lip, tears welling again. For the first time since the wedding, someone is looking at her not with scorn, but with hope. The question repeated. The girl whispers softly. You could be my mama now. If you marry my papa. Clara startles. Oh, child. I cannot just marry a man I do not know. The girl tilts her head, unbothered by Clara's protest. But papa's good. Strong. He fixes things. He makes pancakes sometimes, though they burn. Clara gives a faint, wet laugh through her tears. What is your name, little one? Lucy Carter, the girl says proudly, hugging her doll. What's yours? Clara. Clara Mayfield. Lucy beams. Clara. That sounds like a mama's name. The walk to refuge. Lucy takes Clara's hand, her tiny fingers firm despite the mud. Come on. Papa will be cross if I stay out too long. You'll come with me, won't you? Clara hesitates, looking back toward the distant lights of the town where her shame lingers. Then she looks down at Lucy's trusting eyes and nods weakly. Yes, I will go with you. They walk together down a dirt path that winds between the wet prairie grass. Lucy chatters happily as children do, her doll bouncing in her arms. My papa has cows. And chickens. And a big dog named Bear. He'll like you, I think. Clara listens quietly, letting the child's voice soothe her grief. For the first time since her world fell apart, she feels she is not completely alone. The ranch appears. At last, through the thinning rain, a homestead appears. A weathered wooden ranch house with smoke curling from the chimney, fences stretching across the land, and the sound of livestock faint in the distance. A big dog barks and runs ahead, wagging his tail protectively. Lucy calls out, "Papa. Papa, I found her. She's here." The front door swings open. A man steps onto the porch, lantern in hand. He is tall, broad-shouldered, his shirt sleeves rolled up from evening chores. His face is rugged, framed by dark stubble, and his eyes narrow as he sees Clara, soaked, mud-streaked, still in a torn bridal gown, standing beside his daughter. First glimpse of the rancher. His voice is deep, guarded. "Lucy, what have you dragged home this time?" Lucy beams, pulling Clara forward. "Papa, look. She's an angel. She came from heaven to be my mama." The man's jaw tightens. His piercing gaze lingers on Clara, on her ruined dress, her red-rimmed eyes, the desperation barely hidden behind her fragile smile. Clara lowers her head, whispering softly, "Sir, forgive me. I did not mean to intrude. I had nowhere else to go." For a long moment, only the sound of dripping rain and the barking dog fills the air. Finally, the man speaks, voice rough with both suspicion and something unspoken. "Name's Ethan Carter. And you'd best explain yourself, miss, before I let you cross this threshold." Clara swallows hard, meeting his eyes for the first time. The Carter ranch sits silent except for the steady patter of rain on the wooden roof and the occasional lowing of cattle in the nearby pasture. Lantern light spills warm gold onto the porch, contrasting Clara's drenched white gown as she stands trembling in the mud. Ethan Carter towers in the doorway, broad-shouldered and stern, his lantern casting sharp shadows across his rugged features. His daughter Lucy clings to Clara's hand, looking up at him with pleading eyes. At the threshold, Ethan's voice rumbles, low and guarded. "Lucy, you don't just bring strangers to this door. Especially not ones dressed like that." Lucy stamps her little foot. "She ain't a stranger, Papa. She's from heaven. She's my angel." Clara bows her head, voice soft, desperate. "Sir, I beg your pardon. I was left, abandoned. I have nowhere else to go. I mean no harm." Ethan studies her, her gown torn, mud-smeared, the veil hanging limp. He sees the sorrow etched into her face. His jaw tightens. Finally, he jerks his head toward the inside. "Get in. Before you both catch your death." Inside the Carter home. Clara steps into the warm glow of the cabin. The air smells of wood smoke and bread gone slightly stale. The simple one-room home is modest, rough-hewn beams, a sturdy table, a cast-iron stove, and a bed partitioned off with a quilt. Bear, the big ranch dog, circles Clara suspiciously, sniffing her skirts before retreating to the hearth. Lucy beams proudly. "See, Papa? I told you she's good." Ethan sets the lantern down on the table. His eyes never leave Clara. "Sit. Warm yourself." Clara sinks onto a wooden chair, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. Steam rises from her soaked gown as the heat of the stove touches it. The first questions. Ethan leans against the table, arms crossed. "You'll forgive my bluntness, miss, but women don't wander the prairie dressed as brides. Not unless there's a story to it." Clara's voice quivers. "There was to be a wedding. What? But I was forsaken." Lucy gasps softly and hugs Clara's arm. "They left you? But why?" Clara hesitates, then lowers her eyes. "Because of lies, and a name that brings shame. The family I was to marry into decided I was not worthy." Silence stretches heavy in the cabin. Ethan's eyes narrow, studying her, but he doesn't press. Tension between them. Ethan clears his throat. "Well, Miss Mayfield, this house isn't a place for charity cases. I've worked from dawn till dark and no time for taking in strays." Lucy protests immediately. "Papa, she ain't a stray. She's my angel mama." Ethan shoots his daughter a sharp look, but Clara gently lays a hand on Lucy's shoulder. "Sweetheart, your papa is right to be careful. I cannot stay where I am not wanted." Ethan exhales, running a rough hand through his hair. His voice softens just a fraction. "I didn't say you had to leave tonight. The storm's still heavy. You'll sleep here. Tomorrow, we'll see." The first night. Lucy claps her hands, delighted. She drags Clara toward the small bed tucked near the hearth, piling quilts around her as though tucking in a doll. Clara can't help but smile faintly. Ethan sits silently at the table, sharpening a knife, his eyes glancing now and again toward the girl in white who fate dropped at his door. Clara lies awake on the edge of the bed, staring at the low rafters. The fire pops softly. Lucy snores gently beside her, clutching her doll. Clara whispers into the darkness, "Lord, is this your doing? Or have I simply wandered from one storm into another?" Ethan, still at the table, looks at her across the dim room, his face unreadable. The prairie glows golden under the wide sky. Days have passed since the storm. Clara is no longer just a stranger in a ruined gown. Her hair is tied back neatly, sleeves rolled to her elbows, and her hands busy with ranch chores. She feeds chickens, gathers eggs into a basket, and hums softly while Lucy dances barefoot in the dust. The sound of childish laughter blends with the clucking of hens, the creak of a wagon wheel, the bark of the ranch dog. Inside, Ethan Carter works at the table mending tack. His eyes occasionally lift to the window, where he sees Clara and his daughter together. His jaw tightens, but there's the faintest flicker of something softer in his gaze. Growing into the ranch life. Lucy clings to Clara like a shadow. "Miss Clara, tell me another song. The one about the lark." Clara laughs lightly, her voice carrying across the yard. "All right, but only if you promise to help gather the eggs." Ethan steps out, wiping his hands on a rag. His tone is gruff, but there's no real edge to it anymore. "Lucy, don't go bothering Miss Mayfield all day." Lucy beams. "She don't mind, Papa. Do you, Miss Clara?" Clara glances at Ethan, then back to Lucy, smiling gently. "No, I don't mind at all." Ethan mutters something under his breath and goes back inside. Clara watches him go, an unreadable ache stirring in her chest. The town's whispers. A week later, Clara goes into town with Ethan and Lucy for supplies. Heads turn the moment she steps onto the boardwalk. Whispers fly. "Is that her? The jilted bride. Left standing in the rain, I heard. Now living with the Carter rancher. Shameful, ain't it?" Clara keeps her eyes low, clutching Lucy's hand. Ethan notices the stares. His face hardens, his protective instincts stirring. Inside the general store, the town peddler, a wiry man with sharp eyes, greets them. He lingers over Clara. "Well, if it ain't the runaway bride. Quite the talk of the town, Miss Mayfield. Sad business what happened at that church." Clara stiffens, her cheeks flushing. Ethan's hand presses briefly to her shoulder, steadying her. "Enough, Pike," Ethan growls. "She owes you no explanation." But Pike smirks, pulling a folded scrap of paper from his vest. "Funny thing. Word travels fast on the trail. I came across a copy of that letter, the one that ruined her wedding." The truth revealed. Clara freezes, whispering, You've seen it?" Pike nods, lowering his voice. "Rumor has it, the letter weren't no truth at all. Cooked up by the Avery matriarch herself. Didn't want her son tied to a poor girl with no fortune. Figured lies were quicker than kindness." Clara gasps softly, her hand flying to her mouth. It wasn't true?" Ethan steps forward, eyes blazing. "Watch your tongue, Pike. If you're lying." But Pike raises both hands. "Not lying, Carter. Word is the Avery woman paid a man to draft the slander. Ask around. You'll hear it yourself." Ethan's jaw tightens. He takes Clara's arm firmly but gently, steering her out of the store. Lucy skips along, unaware of the tension. Clara's shattered heart. Outside, Clara stops, her knees weak. "All this time, I thought I was unworthy. Ruined. My father's name dragged me down. But it wasn't true. They lied. They took everything from me." Her voice breaks and tears well. Ethan stands close, his hand still on her arm. His voice is low, steady, full of restrained fury. "Then it's them who should carry the shame. Not you." Clara looks up at him, startled by the conviction in his tone. For a moment, their eyes meet. His gaze hard but protective, hers full of sorrow and something unspoken. Lucy tugs at Clara's skirts, looking between them. "Don't cry, Miss Clara. Papa don't like it when you cry." Clara forces a trembling smile, wiping her tears. "Thank you, Lucy. I'll be all right." Ethan glances back toward the town, his expression stormy. "They left you in the rain. But you're under my roof now. And no one dishonors what's mine." Clara's breath catches at his words, though he doesn't seem to notice the weight of them himself. The scene opens on a crisp afternoon in town. Wagons roll down the muddy street, the blacksmith's hammer rings out, and shopkeepers call to passers-by. Clara, Ethan, and Lucy step down from their wagon, heading toward the mercantile. Clara wears a plain calico dress borrowed from Ethan's late wife's trunk, simple but neat. She still feels the eyes of the townsfolk follow her. Murmurs ripple like wind through wheat. There she is, the rain-soaked bride. Living at Carter's ranch, bold as brass. Shame, shame on both of them. Lucy, oblivious, skips between Ethan and Clara, clutching Clara's hand. The confrontation begins. Near the general store, a well-dressed woman steps forward. Mrs. Avery, the groom's mother, her eyes sharp as knives. Behind her stands Thomas Avery, the man who abandoned Clara at the altar. His face is pale but pride stiffens his jaw. Mrs. Avery's voice rings out, carrying across the boardwalk. Well, if it isn't the runaway bride. Parading yourself about with the Carter man. What a sight. The street quiets. All eyes turn. Clara stiffens, clutching Lucy's hand tighter. Ethan's jaw flexes as he steps subtly in front of them. Clara whispers, voice breaking. Please, not here. But Mrs. Avery presses on, her words venomous. You should have left town when my son cast you aside. Did you think you could slither into respectability by attaching yourself to a widower too busy to see he's harboring damaged goods? Gasps ripple through the crowd. Clara's cheeks burn with shame. Ethan stands tall. Before Clara can speak, Ethan steps forward, towering over Mrs. Avery. His voice thunders, low and commanding. That's enough. The street stills. Ethan's eyes burn with fury as he stares her down. You and your lies humiliated her. Left her standing in the storm with nothing but your cruelty. She's worth 10 of your son and 10 of you. Thomas tries to step in, voice trembling. Carter, you don't know. Ethan cuts him off, voice sharp as a whip. I know enough. I know your mother spun a letter full of falsehoods to break a good woman's spirit. I know you were too weak to see truth from lies. And I know you don't deserve to speak her name. The crowd murmurs, the tide shifting. Whispers, could it be true? The letter a lie? Mrs. Avery, did she? Mrs. Avery's face tightens, her composure cracking. Clara finds her voice. Clara, trembling but resolute, steps forward. Her voice wavers at first, but then strengthens as she faces them. You left me in the rain. You cast me aside without a word, without a chance to defend myself. I believed I was ruined. That I was unworthy. But now I see, it wasn't me who was ruined. It was your pride. Your greed. And your cruelty. Her words carry across the crowd, her tears shining but her chin lifted. I was left with nothing. But in that storm I found a child who believed I came from heaven. And a home where kindness lives. I may not be rich, but I am not broken. Not anymore. Lucy tugs on Clara's hand and beams proudly at her. The crowd turns. The crowd erupts in hushed conversation. Some nod approvingly. Others glare at the Averys. The peddler Pike, leaning against a post, calls out. She speaks true. I saw the letter myself. It was forged, all lies. All eyes turn to Mrs. Avery. Her face burns red, her son avoiding her gaze. Her voice shakes with rage. You'll regret this insolence, girl. And you, Carter, your ranch will suffer for siding with the likes of her. Ethan steps closer, his voice low and dangerous. Try me, and see what happens. Mrs. Avery recoils, realizing the tide has turned. Muttering angrily, she pulls Thomas away through the dispersing crowd. Aftermath. Clara stands trembling, her strength draining. Ethan turns to her, his voice gentler now. You did well. You spoke with truth. Clara swallows hard, looking up at him. For the first time. I don't feel ashamed. Lucy pipes up brightly, as if she alone understood from the beginning. I told you, Papa. She's our angel. Ethan allows himself the faintest ghost of a smile, his eyes lingering on Clara longer than before. Back at the Carter ranch, the golden light of sunset spills across the wide fields. The sky, once dark and stormy when Clara first arrived, now glows in soft pinks and golds. Clara sits on the porch steps, her hands folded in her lap. She stares out over the land, her heart heavy but strangely free. For the first time, the shame of the broken wedding no longer weighs her down. Instead, something new beats steady in her chest. Hope. Lucy runs about the yard chasing fireflies, her laughter filling the air like bells. Ethan leans against the porch post, arms folded, watching Clara with an unreadable expression. The quiet conversation. Ethan breaks the silence first, his voice steady but low. You spoke like a lion today. I don't think I've ever seen someone stand so tall under fire. Clara looks up at him, shy but firm. I only spoke the truth. And the truth felt lighter than lies. Ethan studies her for a long moment. His rugged face, weathered by sun and toil, softens in a way few have ever seen. You've been through hell. Yet here you are. Stronger than most. Clara swallows, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. I thought my life ended the day I was left in the rain. But maybe it was the beginning. Lucy's innocent wish. Lucy runs up, hair flying wild, and throws her arms around Clara. Papa, did you hear her? She said it's the beginning. That means she's staying, doesn't it? Clara laughs nervously, smoothing Lucy's hair. Lucy. The little girl pulls back, freckles glowing in the fading light. You came from heaven to us. I prayed for a mama. You came. Don't go away. Her innocent plea hits Clara's heart like an arrow. Tears prick her eyes as she looks from Lucy to Ethan. Ethan's confession. Ethan steps forward, voice low but steady, his eyes fixed on Clara. Lucy isn't the only one who prayed. Clara blinks, surprised. Ethan clears his throat, almost gruff, as if admitting it cost him pride. I thought I was done with love when my wife passed. I buried myself in this land, in work, in silence. But when I saw you, standing there, broken and soaked through, I felt something stir I thought was gone forever. He takes a deep breath. You're more than the pain they tried to give you. You're a woman of courage, of gentleness, and of fire. Clara, if you'll stay, this ranch will be your home. If you'll have us, you'll be my wife. Not for Lucy's sake alone. For mine. Clara's choice. The words hang in the air like a prayer answered. Clara trembles, tears slipping down her cheeks. I was left behind once. Abandoned when I thought I had everything. But today, I see what real strength looks like. What real love is. She steps closer, her hand finding Ethan's. Yes, I'll stay. I'll be yours. And Lucy's. Lucy squeals with delight, jumping up and down, clapping her little hands. A new beginning. Ethan pulls Clara into his arms, a kiss soft and reverent sealing their vow. The ranch, bathed in the last glow of sunset, seems to breathe with them, alive, renewed. Lucy twirls around them, singing out. See? I told you. She came from heaven. The storm of the past finally behind them.